Welcome, Danny Gibbons. Have a seat, Danny. So you actually graduated from Bethel, huh?
Yes, I did.
All right. Well, Danny, why don't you tell people what you do for a living now, and what your major was at Bethel, and why in the world you decided to come to this place?
So what I do now, I am a reentry coordinator at the African American Men Project, which is a nonprofit organization in North Minneapolis that works with offenders who are returning home from prison, assisting them in the areas of healthcare, education, and employment. We provide psychosocial support as well as a host of other direct services. So that's the professional side. On the personal side, my wife and I are pastors, and we just recently planted a new church in St. Paul on C.A.P.S campus called Alumni Ministries. So we're also doing that as well. We're 5 months old. I started in April on Easter Sunday, had a great time, great turnout, graduated a month later from Bethel here. And the program that I went through was the Christian Ministries program. That program for me was just awesome, to say the least. And you know, Mike hasn't patted my pocket or asked me to say these things. I mean this from the heart. When I decided to choose a school, a little bit about myself is when I was 18 years old, I had went to prison for shooting a police officer during a robbery. I myself was shot, also died, and by the grace of God was brought back to life, was sentenced to serve 12 years off an 18-year sentence. And so while I was in, about 6 years into the sentence, I decided to change my life. And I gave my life to the Lord and accepted the call to preach while I was in prison. And so what was burning in my heart is that I didn't want to be another ignorant preacher. I didn't want to be the emotional hooping and hollering. And not that there's anything wrong with that, or those people who do it are ignorant. I wanted to be able to be an informed believer for myself, so that when I stand before God's people, I can give them the correct knowledge, the correct wisdom and understanding of the Bible and the principles of Christ. And so when I got ready to come home from prison, I had made a one-year plan that by the time I came home in February of 2008, I said by January of 2009, I will be attending someone's college. And so I began to research looking for Bethel. And what I wanted is I wanted a school that was faith-based, but wasn't the intent or the premise of the content of the schooling I was learning, the information I was taking in wouldn't be dogmatic. It wasn't to indoctrinate me, but really to enhance what I already believe God has called me to do, or what God has called me to be. And so I had met with this amazing lady who is now retired, Rebecca Iberg, and this was awesome. Had an awesome first conversation. And I knew right then and there that Bethel was the school for me. I shared with her my story because that was my primary concern with, you know, coming home from prison, and how will I be accepted? How will I be viewed? I'm not going to hide it. I'm not going to run from it. And when I shared that, she was like, "Oh, you're going to be great." So that was my reason for choosing Bethel.
And we also guarantee that when you graduate from Bethel, you get 2 jobs, not just one. So that's part of the story right there. Danny, give some positive highlights. What did you like about Bethel, your Bethel experience?
You know, what I liked about the Bethel experience is that it's a very warm, and it's like family here. I mean, you come through the doors, and even if you don't know people that you're coming across, you don't feel like, especially me as an adult learner walking through the traditional school with all these young kids, and you know, I got some grays in my face now, and it wasn't like, you know, they're looking at me like, who's the old guy that's coming up in here? You know, it was really a warm and loving environment, and then being a part of the cohort setting was very important for me, because it was one thing to come in and, okay, I'm going to take a class with Bob, a class with Jane, and then I may not see them ever again. But here it is, I'm in this setting where I'm going through this academic process with, you know, 12 to 15 people for the entire 18 months. And so that was, you know, that was very loving, because it became a cohesion. We all became like family. And so the experience was great. I mean, I would even sometimes have my wife accompany me to class and sit in, and it was never like, you know, oh, what is she doing here? Why did he bring her? And that kind of stuff. They welcomed her just as if she was a student herself. So that was a bit of the experience.
Danny, and all of you, we use a word around Bethel, the T word, transformation. It's big. We shoot for a transformation of many different kinds. We don't always know exactly how it happens, but that it does happen. So Danny, my next question is, through your Bethel experience, how were you transformed, or what changes happened in you?
The transformation took place with being able to be transparent. I believe that, transformation can't take place without transparency. And so I was able to be transparent. I was able to share my stories. I was able to share my struggles. If I came to class and I had something on me, there was actually, when I first started, both my wife and my mother had to have major surgeries. And I came to class and I shared about it. And what was more important to the cohort as well as the teachers was not the curriculum and the assignment that was there that night, but being able to make themselves available to me, stopping class and praying, just to support the rally of love, even the continuum of support afterwards. People, other cohort members emailing me, the teacher calling, how are you doing, praying, that kind of stuff. And so that was one piece of the transformation. The other piece was, getting information in a way that I could be able to, it was palatable, in a way that I could digest it. I wasn't made to feel like, I had been out of school for 12 to 13 years prior to coming in. So, I was able to learn at my own pace. And so then I was able to kind of discover more of who I was. And oftentimes I've been blessed with the gift of being able to speak. And oftentimes that had gotten me a lot of attention. And so people in my cohort, my teachers, weren't more so impressed with my ability to speak. They were more so wanting to help me to form and develop spiritually, to grow and kind of like this holistic view as a man of God in the academic pursuits I was in. And so having that along the way, and even afterwards, our cohort, we're still in touch. We still call and email one another. The instructors still call and check on me. We send words of encouragement to one another, and it's just a great support system. So that was a great piece of my transformation here.
Yeah, Dan, you talked about the cohort. Some of you, most of you know that we are in a cohort system, which are basically just small groups. Cohort from the Latin meaning struggling through together, and I think you really said it all in that way. Final question, Danny, is there's some prospective students sitting out there. What's the best advice that you would give them to potentially make their Bethel experience the best it could be?
Don't give up. I went through a lot, as a working adult, as an offender, transitioning back into society, on parole, all of that stuff, all of the complications of, dealing with family life and the demands. But one of the things is that I never gave up. I put my hand to the plow and I wasn't looking back. And though there were times when I felt like it, my cohort was there. The teachers are just so understanding. I mean, the rigidity isn't there. It isn't like they're saying, hey, you don't have it in this time, it's over. Just the understanding. And what I came to know more of God's grace in this kind of setting. And so not to give up when you feel like you're at the end of your rope, tie a knot and hold on. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because the help is here.
Excellent. Thanks. Give Danny a hand. Thanks so much. So yes, people actually do graduate from Bethel C.A.P.S. Yes. I'd like to introduce the next speaker. About a year ago, Dick